Greetings, and today I have another deck for you guys. So this deck was partly inspired, it was partly inspired by the last video I did, which was the reaction to the Great Dandelion Show, episode 129. There was a particular play that I saw that actually really inspired me to make a deck like this. So here I have you the enemy fill deck. So part of it did come from, let me make this a bit too loud, maybe I'll be quiet down a little bit. So part of it did come from that reaction video, which I will put in the description to you guys below, so you guys can check that out if you haven't seen the Great Dandelion Show yet. He's a great channel, loves making like funny moments for Gwent. I highly suggest you guys check him out if you haven't already. But the other part was me thinking like, okay, you know what? A lot of decks nowadays can fill up their board relatively well. I'm specifically talking about the artifact decks, swarm decks, all stuff like that. So I thought I would make a deck that would, you know, help them fulfill their needs. So with the enemy fill, the idea is you get a bunch of Noon Wraiths, right? You get a bunch of Noon Wraiths, you kill them, you spawn them, you kill them some more, and you give your opponent a bunch of rats, and you pretty much play Glusty Warp to take their power and absorb it as your own. That's sort of the idea behind a deck like this. It's a bit of a gimmick deck, meme deck, whatever. Like it is a fun deck to play. It does hold its own against some of the powerful decks because A, your opponents never expect it, and B, really the only deck I've seen that can deal with this is scoia'tael Precision Strike, because Precision Strike can hit any unit, so they can actually kill our rats. Well, kill their rats to play their own units, but like they're kind of giving up that, you know, they're giving up that hero ability to attack their own unit instead of ours. So it is a lot of fun. We'll go down the list as usual. Dandelion Poet is a good way to thin your deck out, so that's why Dandelion Poet is in this deck. Eaghern is again, it's a very solid monsters card, 13 power, usually a setup for Ozrel. So you definitely want to play Eaghern round 1. Roach is here for that, again, it's for that deck thin. So Roach is making the appearance because of that. The reason why I'm doing quite a bit of deck thing in this one is because you want to set up round 3 almost perfectly. You gotta have Night Wraiths, you have Caranthier, you gotta have Chiron, you gotta have Mata or whatever you need to pretty much have that combo, and Operator as well. So you can set up a crap ton of Night Wraiths and get, Noon Wraiths, not Night Wraiths, Noon Wraiths, and then give your opponent a bunch of rats. So Glusty Warp, of course, is the game finisher. So if you get last say, or if you even get a double say for your last turn, then Glusty Warp is definitely a good finisher. You're gonna see in this gameplay that I'm gonna show you that the opponent does discard a lot once their row has been filled, because they have no way of playing any more units unless they have a card that damages their own units. But that does slow them down already, so they probably don't want to do that. So that actually makes this even more powerful. So there is Glusty Warp for eating up all the rats that you can conjure and all the rats that they conjure. Or that you give them, I should say, not they conjure. So Glusty Warp is there for that. Next, you got Mata. Again, being able to draw your highest prov unit, not to mention weakening your opponent a little bit by making them draw their lowest cost unit. Could be a decent engine, so you never know, but you know, your chances are just better with this one, with winning. Ozrel, it's like, Ozrel is usually the second to last play, and honestly, like, you don't have to worry about cards like Morkvarg, Igni, stuff like that, because by the time you play Ozrel, your opponent's board should already be full of rats. Well, rats plus their own cards, so that they can't really play any more cards. So Ozrel should be a safe second to last play. ADC is good to get out, again, the highest unit. You can make a case for actually getting rid of this, because I found that in most cases, it either draws, because I can already draw Goliath. Like, my deck thins very well that I don't need Ozrel's Double Cross. It's just nice to have, you know? So it is there, but you can definitely make a change for that. I probably might edit that out and make it a little bit better. Maybe add the Beast. The Beast is not a bad option, actually, and you can upgrade one of your, I'm thinking Cyclops maybe into a Parasite. That's probably a change that I might make, because your opponent does have the ability to damage you still. Obviously, they're not going to want to touch their own units, but they still have the ability to damage you, so Parasite would probably be a good way for that. Oh, excuse me. So, yeah, so this deck you can definitely make changes, but the core cards are the 2 Noon Wraiths, Caranthier, Operator. Those are the main core. Of course, you also got Death Shadow. We are using Death Shadow so we can destroy Noon Wraiths and add in more. Oh, and Chiron. Chiron, I guess, too, is a part of the cord piece. So yeah, you can use Death Shadow to kill a Noon Wraith and then summon more rats to their row and then bring it back. What I like to do is play Caranthir to a Noon Wraith, Death Shadow that Noon Wraith back into a regular Noon Wraith. Yes, the power output sucks when I do these kinds of combos, but it's really all worth it with Glusty Warp and the fact that your opponent can't play. So technically speaking, you have like the you get like 4 cards for your last say, so it's kind of brutal. That might be the title for this, and it's not going to be clickbait, just simply because it's kind of true. So anyway. So moving on from the list, Operator, Caranthir, and Chiron again are our core cards. We're making duplicates of Noon Wraiths and then we're eating them all up with Chiron. So that way that your opponent gets a bunch of rats and then they won't be able to summon any more units. Pugo, Boombreaker, and Penitent are always a decent combo. These cards you want to try and play round 1. So you can actually gain a lot of tempo. And then when you gain that tempo, you either get last say or you get the double last say. Or the rare triple or quadruple last say, you know, because you're setting up their field, right? So you definitely want to win round 1 for sure. You don't want to get last say. It's going to be a bit of a problem. You want to sort of ensure your victory by getting either the last say or the double say. You don't want to have your opponent have the last say. Unless you're confident in filling up their board, in which case it should be fine. This sort of gives you that guarantee. Barghest is, you got the Barghest for eating. Cyclops is there just to be able to, it's for mostly destroy, because most opponents run reset, Igni nowadays. So it's not so bad to have a good old trade for trade, eye for an eye. But the thing is, you don't want to do this when you're trying to fill up their board, so you gotta play this round 1 for sure. Probably play on a Foglet, or an Endrega Eggs, or anything that's not Noon Wraith, you know? I mean, I guess you could do it for the Noon Wraith, but at the same time, you don't want to play it round 1, and you don't want to destroy an opponent's unit in round 3. So be careful of that. Endrega Larva is good. Usually, you want to play Endrega Larvas round 1. I try to play one Endrega Larva round 1. You could play them both. It's actually a very good option to play both, because A, you kind of build a lot of tempo that way, and B, your opponent might try to like expend a lot of their damage output cards to kill the Endrega Larva, which will make them kind of slow, because if they're playing cards like Tourney Joust, Assassinate, Stunning Blow, Gutting Slash to the Endrega Larva, they only deal 1 damage, and it's very slow. So you kind of can use that to set up, play your big units, set them up for Ozril, and then yeah. The Noon Wraiths are sort of the core cards of the deck, or they're the core bronze cards of the deck, kind of already mentioned. You're giving your opponents tons of rats, and then once they find that they have to discard all their cards, you play you play Glusty Warp, and then it's over. 1 unit of Endrega Eggs should be fine. You already have a lot of units with Death Wish, so having an extra Endrega Eggs is kind of redundant at this point. And not to mention the units that you have for absorbing, not too much. You want to save Chiron for the Noon Wraiths. You have 2 Barghests to eat, 1 Endrega Egg, and probably 1 Foglet. If they get their dominance off, it's probably the Night Wraiths. So yeah. You got 2 Foglets for deck thin, which is always nice to have. And you got the Night Wraith. Again, good for creating more rats, so you could save these for the 3rd round if you have extra cards. So like if you have more than the core cards, it's good to have Night Wraiths in there, so it's more power for your Glusty Warp once it gets its final ability off. A good counter to this deck, actually, I would say is scoia'tael, Gord's scoia'tael, simply because they don't swarm their deck as much. So any unitless decks, really, like Swimps, unitless monsters that he played for a while, definitely does this deck justice. Sorry, it does pretty well against this deck, I should say. Simply because it doesn't summon as many units as other decks do. But against meta decks, like again, Status, Nilfgaard, scoia'tael, Call of Heart. The gameplay you're gonna see is against Call to Harmony scoia'tael, which again is I think a tier 2 deck in the meta. So it's actually really good. Yeah, decks like those that like to swarm their field and then to set up like Great Oak does pretty well against them as well. It actually forces them to play Great Oak relatively early, so that is that. So anyway, that's gonna be enough for my rambling. This deck was a lot of fun to play with, and I'm gonna send you guys over to the gameplay. And of course, before I go over, if you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. We are nearing 100 subscribers, so if we do get to 100 subscribers, when we get to 100 subscribers, I will have a special video for you guys. So, I'll send you guys over to the gameplay, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Again, we go second, that's not so bad. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Same idea. We want to it's fine.
The waters of Broccolin, their taste still upon my lips.
I shall not fail.
Wait, larva as usual. So we just get rid of all the cards that don't have anything to do with summoning rats on the opponent's side of the field, and then we should be fine. As long as he doesn't have any cards that damage us, or that can damage his own units, that should be fine.
Got a hearty hankering for Gwent. Famous last words, right?
Yeah, as long as I didn't if I draw a roach from that, I was gonna be like done. That's fine. That's okay. Let's play Cyclops? Yeah. It's to the right, right? Oh, it's adjacent, so it doesn't matter. Kind of want to play Egern. Actually, maybe later. We'll play Cyclops first, actually. Doesn't do too much, but it does enough. Again, scoia'tael is literally the most powerful faction right now. So if I can beat a scoia'tael deck with this deck, oh my goodness, that'll be like the best. Play Vernacial early? Really? That's interesting. Okay, okay, I see why you did it. Still interesting. As long as I can maintain the lead, I should be okay. Should be, keyword. He's playing a lot of really good cards early. But the fact that he hasn't played Great Oak yet is sort of the kicker there, so... Oh yeah, I forgot I already summoned a Foglet. I didn't need to do it again. Oh well. I mean, if he passes, it's fine. Maybe not. Maybe not.
How beautiful these golden fields.
Oh boy. Okay. We don't want any of these. We don't want those two, actually. We want to get rid of these two. Operator's good here. Now if we can only get Karant there. Now if we can only get Karant there. We also need Karan in here too, so. He's yet to play Great Oak. Oh, he might have Feign Death. Yeah, he probably has Feign Death. Okay, Karanthi here was perfect. Get rid of you. That's a shame, actually. Maybe I should have kept ABC. But Matawa's gonna draw us Chiron, so maybe that wasn't the best thing in the world. Besides, we have Thrive units, so I'm okay with it. Oh wow, that's early.
The
So if I can fill up his row quick, like, that's the idea. You have to fill up his row quick. Otherwise, it's gonna be like, it's gonna be a pain to deal with. It's gonna be a pain to deal with. Yeah, that's fine. That's really okay. Welcome, Chosen One. Once they see it, it's like, what the heck is he doing? Why is he doing this? I mean, he's gonna figure out that I'm trying to fill his row up. Yeah, there it is.
Death towards one. Now we will see who is weak.
Interesting. I find myself in a rather interesting situation here. Because I don't have Chiron, so I might actually have some... that's fine. I might actually have some trouble not having Chiron. So Mata has to draw him, right? No, but I have to focus on... Yeah, no, I have to do this. As long as you don't have Igni, it should be okay. That's fine. Oh, you're gonna poison my Barghest. Yeah, that's gonna suck. He's doing his best to make sure that I don't fill up his row anymore. Ah, pity. Too bad he's not gonna have any more units after I, yeah. Yikes. This is actually good for me.
Do not make me beg.
Wait, what? Oh, you are not... Oh, I see. Okay. That makes sense. Interesting, actually. Interesting. I forgot I didn't have dominance anymore after the Great Oak. Okay, so that's it. That's the height of his power. He actually can't do anything anymore after this.
One arrow. That is all I need.
So I need to overcome 47 points. Okay, this should be doable. Yes, I don't think he has... I mean, if he has any spell cards that he can use on his own units, then sure, but... Okay, that's fine. Man, if I can... Oh my goodness, this is gonna be really interesting. He's out of units to play. Uh-oh! He's out of units to play. Uh-oh. And that is the game. That is so brutal. Oh my goodness, that is so brutal. This deck, oh my goodness, this deck is actually decent. This deck is actually very decent. I like it. I actually like this deck. It's very decent.